The House, the very distinguished commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Corrections, the one and only Burl Cain. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Honored to be with the one and only Gallo.
Hey, it is a pleasure. You stay so busy, it's hard to. You're a moving target.
And it's hard to hit you when you're moving.
Well, that's it. That's don't let any politicians get a beat on you. You keep moving. I don't know where to start here. This is the end of the fiscal year. It means something to every head of agencies out there. What does it mean to you as far as rolling over for a new fiscal year?
It means it's time to open Walnut Grove. That's what it means to me.
Whoa. Now, where are we with that?
Well, our staff comes together, and we've been working on it really hard. And the 15th of July, they'll be moved in or moving in that day.
Who's going to move in there?
We're going to have our warden. We'll have to start with our warden and our staff and get it ready. And so the 15th, they'll move in. We'll hire our first batch of officers. We'll have about 30 people we'll hire right then, and then that'll give us time to get them trained. If they're not trained, some of them may transfer in from other places. And then we'll have our first inmates come in on the 15th of August. And that's going to be about 40 inmates to train how to cook, how to maintain the place, and do all the things they have to do. And then we'll have a few more officers come in then. And then with the 15th of September, we'll really be ready to rock and roll and start bringing in those guys that's causing us the blues, the gang guys. And we'll start moving those in. And so then the 1st of October, we'll move in the addiction unit, and that's going to be in place by then. And we'll only have 35 inmates in addiction, and so it's multitasking that place. And then it has plenty of room to expand, and we'll just move in slow.
The capacity there is what so far?
The capacity there is like 1,500, but the capacity we're going to start with, because we don't have any pens or any staff pens, so we're having to pull those pens out of other prisons, which we have right now because we're still understaffed in the other prisons a little bit. But anyway, we'll use those pens till January, and then we're going to expect and hope and pray that, and I'm sure they will, that we'll get enough pens to fill it up.
For people in the state, all across the state, that don't know a lot about Walnut Grove, a little of the history, and the first time that you saw it, what was your assessment of that? That why weren't we using this? How much did it take to restore it, and a little bit of an assessment when you saw it?
Well, one thing, it's a really fine facility, and it's been restored, and it was about a $10 million restoration price, but we were able to restore it in-house for about $1.5 million. So
and that's done now?
It's done, and so we saved about $8.5 million by doing all the work ourselves. The inmates are a valuable resource, and maybe they've been underutilized in the past, but we're certainly utilizing them now. So we were able to repair it, get it done, and so we're doing that with a lot of our prisons, though, is using inmate labor now, and they step up. They like to do that.
Are you recruiting in that area as far as any personnel?
We will, and we're talking to some folks there now to try to get the basic staff. The warden we pretty well settled on who that is, and the deputy warden and then administrator guy, and we have the top staff in place, and that'll all fall together, though, in the next 2 weeks.
The security, you're satisfied with the security there?
I am, because the security that we're going to have in there is going to be absolutely not affiliated with any gang, because we have to keep it totally gang-free. Those inmates that are coming in to be the first ones to work there will not have any gang affiliation. And we had a little bit of good news. The Aryan Brotherhood pulled out, so we don't have them anymore. So one gang
do you mean
group,
they pulled out? Well, they didn't pay their dues or something?
They decided it was kind of hard to do business here.
Was that right? So they're gone, huh?
So they're kind of gone. And so they kind of did that. We found out officially from the outside saying we don't want to do any more in the prison.
Maybe that was where, when we had our census, that was the population that we lost. So that's good news. It's good. We didn't need it anyway.
That's one group gone. There's 2 more to go. And so we're working on them right now.
How are we doing as far as the religious part of this, is bringing that back as far as the churches, is something that you've been working on for a long time. So what's the status of that?
The legislature changed the law to enable us to move a lot faster, and it starts July. And we have raised enough funds from private donors to pay for one church, and that's $300,000 plus another two is $500,000. And so churches cost a little more here because a little more required to do it. But anyway, we know and hope and pray that by Christmas now, since I missed the Easter deadline because of a little bit of more bureaucracy than I thought, that we will have at least two churches up and maybe four. But I want to commend Mr. Cornbragg and the folks over at the building where you get all your building stuff approved and all. They're really moving fast with us.
Yeah.
A lot of people's trying to move through the red tape, and I think it's going fast now. We're doing well.
Well, we got some sawmills here. We got the Parchment owns some timber, doesn't it?
No, sir, Parchment is in the Delta. I don't believe it has hardly any trees on it. You can just look like you're the desert.
I thought there were some the forestry that the Department of Corrections had owned. We don't have any forest land.
We don't have any at Parchment. We have a little bit of forest land around some of our other prisons.
I got you.
Not a lot of property. It's farm.
When you look at an assessment of how we are compared to when you first got here, there are some changes, a lot of different changes that were made. Speak to some of the other things that are going on that you've been working on.
Well, the moral rehabilitation thing is the key because to get rid of the gangs, I have to have the churches, and to get rid of that, I have to have the seminary. So it's working really well. It's strong. It's doing well at Parchment. It's doing well at CMCF. And when we brought Ruth Graham on board to do our weekly program with her book, Forgiveness and Loneliness, we really started to help heal the population some because that spreads from those students who were in those seminaries on out through the population. So that's all helped settle the place down.
We had her on the air, and she was on for just a short bit, but boy, the feedback on that was incredible. She's some lady.
She is, and we've been affiliated with her a while, and so she's a dear friend, as are all the Grahams. And as you know, Billy Graham is buried in one of the coffins we made at Angola, and his wife as well, and George Beverly
I didn't
Shea.
know that.
So,
about that.
Right, they saw the coffin, and we now are doing that here, building the coffins here.
To address where we were and one of the big problems that we had when you took over, I mean, we had the near riots and the fires going on, a plethora of questions as far as some deaths and everything else seems to have calmed down a heck of a lot. Number one was the contraband was just out of control. Where are we now at the end of this fiscal year?
Well, the violence at Parchment dropped 52%. Which was our largest drop anywhere, but we focused on it the most. Mm-hmm. So it means we were effective in our programming, and we've changed some people and some staff, and we still have a ways to go. But we've added the scanners. We spent a lot of money on scanners and security devices. We've added about 900 cameras in our prisons, and so we've done a lot to control the contraband by seeing the contraband and going to get it. Now, we still have to staff up more, and so we're working on hiring and have more people.
Yeah. How many do you need? I mean, in all the facilities or just the one in Parchment?
All of them.
All of them. I would think that the prisoners in Portland are probably as worried about the heat more so than the prisoners so far at Parchment, but that's a weird situation at 114 degrees in Portland yesterday, and I think they said the same thing for today, but you were talking about air conditioning. Where are we with that?
Okay, that bid it's been awarded, and so therefore that process is ongoing now.
Yeah,
and it should complete here pretty soon. I hope it gets done before we get through the summer, but it's in process right now, and that's good. And so we're going to see that settles people down. You know, our correctional officers have to sit in the heat as well, so it's just better for everybody.
Is it air conditioned over Walnut Grove? Walnut?
It is.
They do have air conditioning.
They do.
And people would be fighting to get into there then.
Well, good deal.
Well, I shouldn't say fighting.
They won't like it, I can tell you that.
One way or the other, it's still prison, right?